Hey, good Saturday morning. Welcome back to the program. We are going to talk technology with Luis Alvarez, CEO of the Alvarez Technology Group, alvareztg.com. Luis, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Doing well. Appreciate you joining us this morning. We're talking about wearable technology. We got into it a little bit earlier this week, but PC sales slowing down. People are moving on to mobile devices, tablets, and the next great frontier will be wearable tech. And before we get to that, I did want to ask you this. I know that PC sales are slowing down because we're seeing it. You don't see as many PCs in the stores on display anymore, and what you do, they're slashed in price. And I think we're also seeing, I don't want to say the bottom is falling out of the market, but boy, we're seeing really great deals on laptops right now too.
Yeah, I mean, there's right now manufacturers are struggling to grow their business, and in particular, the whole concept of portable devices, tablet, has changed the equation for a lot of manufacturers because people, it used to be that folks would buy a smartphone and then they'd get a tablet to complement their PC or laptop, but they always were upgrading their PC or laptop to the latest and greatest, and that's not happening anymore. Folks are happy with their iPad as their primary computing device, or happy with their Surface tablet or their Nexus tablet, and what that means is that manufacturers are getting much more aggressive about pricing, especially when it comes to laptops. So there's some great deals out there.
Well, recently my laptop lost the hard drive in it, and rather than buy a new one, we just put a bigger drive in. I went from a 150 gig drive to a 500 gig drive.
Yeah, we've been doing that quite a bit for our clients, and especially migrating them from the traditional spinning drives to the new solid state drives, because those have come down in price quite a bit, and their performance is significantly better than the traditional hard drive. And they're a little bit more reliable because there's no moving parts. It's just a bunch of RAM that we're used to being crammed into a small form factor. So you can get up to 250 gigs of storage that way.
So it's like a giant flash drive.
It's like a giant flash drive. There you go.
That's cool. The other interesting thing is I've heard people say that when you do upgrade to something like a solid-state drive from the spinning drive, you almost think that you've got a more powerful computer now because you're just able to access things much more quickly.
The access of data on a solid-state drive is 10 times the speed of accessing it with a traditional drive, and they don't suffer quite the defragmentation degradation that you see on traditional drives, and they're always on. That's the other thing that's interesting. It takes, when you turn on your laptop, for example, it takes it a while for the hard drive to spin up to get to the point where it can load the operating system. But in a solid-state environment, you turn it on, you start trickling power, it's ready to go.
On this issue of wearable technology, as we jump back into that, Google Glasses, Apple's soon-to-be-unveiled iWatch, Dell is coming up with wearable technology. When we talk about wearable technology, let's start with the Google Glasses, and what are we dealing with there?
Well, Google announced their Google Glass initiative, I think, about 18 months ago. And when they first started talking about it, people wondered, what is it? And they've since released it to developers, and developers have been working on different kind of functionality, apps, all sorts of stuff. And so you're going to start seeing commercially available Google Glass devices toward the end of this year, maybe the beginning of next year. And what these are is essentially a pair of glasses with a head-up display. For folks that are familiar with pilot speak, it's the idea that you can see on your reflected into your eye some information that you would normally look into a screen to see. Google says that the display is like looking at a 25-inch display from about 8 feet. That gives you kind of the kind of depth that you're going to get with these glasses. But you can get all sorts of information on there, such as text messages that are being sent to you, emails. So rather than having to look at a screen of some sort, this is projected right onto the lenses of a pair of glasses, for example, and you're able to get information because the Google Glasses are tied into your smartphone via wireless technology, and therefore it becomes a device that you can use just like you use your smartphone or your tablet.
Now, we were just talking in our earlier conversation that casinos in Atlantic City and Las Vegas don't want people wearing Google Glasses in there because the possibility that they could be receiving information wirelessly that would give them an advantage in some of these games of chance.
Sure. I mean, if you've ever seen a casino table, nobody pulls out their smartphone to look at the odds on a particular hand, or pulls out their tablet to see what card they should be playing or whether they should be folding. That sort of obvious use of electronic devices is banned now. But with Google Glass, it's harder for the dealers and the pit bosses to spot it. So the folks in Vegas and Atlantic City and probably every casino around the world have already publicly announced that they're not going to allow folks to walk in wearing Google Glass, and they probably are going to do the same sort of thing with any wearable technology. As you mentioned, Apple has announced something called the iWatch. There's a lot of speculation as to what exactly is going to be available on the iWatch, but it might be something as think of it as a really tricked out Dick Tracy watch that will allow you to do all sorts of stuff that you now have to do on your iPad or your iPhone. And so those devices, I think you're going to see being banned from casino floors, and there's even strip clubs that have said that they're not going to let people walk in with Google Glass, because one of the things that Google Glass provides is the ability to film or take pictures of what you're seeing. So it has a little camera embedded into the device, so you can be looking at something and say, hey, take a picture, and it takes a picture, or film this, and it starts filming it. Some enterprising strip clubs that just want to get their name in the news have already announced that they're not going to allow people to walk in with Google Glasses. Although, for the life of me, I can't imagine that that's necessarily a bad thing.
Right. I think that one we're going to see happen is that these interests, particularly the gaming interest, are going to go to the FCC and they're going to say, look, we need an exemption from your rule about not having RF jamming equipment. In this country, it's illegal for anyone to have any sort of RF jamming equipment. However, devices that jam cell phone signals are available overseas. You can purchase them, and like their little cell phone jammers that have like two antennas on them. And I could see them going to the commission and saying, look, these new technologies are a direct threat to the viability of our business and all the jobs and everything like that. We need, we need a rulemaking on this that'll allow us to have these devices that will scramble wireless signals inside our casinos. It'll affect everybody that has a cell phone, but because I don't see that you're going to be able to really stop this stuff just by asking people to be on their honor and so forth.
Well, and just forget about wearable devices. Think about how dependent we've become on our portable devices. We were just in Europe on vacation and there for the Rotary International Conference, and everywhere we went, I was depending on my cell phone and its embedded technology to get me, pull up Google Maps or to translate things or to, show me where a good restaurant was, because we were in a foreign city and we didn't know where to stop and eat. So we use them all the time now to help us with our daily activities, and by wearing them, it's going to become even more prevalent, I think.
We can see it all happening, and it's the brave new world that we live in here.
Yep.
By the way,
Getting
Louis,
up faster than we thought.
Should someone, if someone has an older technology like a computer or a laptop, at what point should they think about upgrading to something new?
Well, it's really it's kind of like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. What we tell people is, as long as the device that you have is doing the job for you, then by all means, don't just upgrade for the sake of upgrading. Now, having said that, there are some dates that are coming up that people need to be aware of. For example, next year in April, Microsoft stops supporting Windows XP, which is the most reliable operating system that they produce, at least in the last 10 years. But what that means is they're not going to be producing security patches and updates to problems. And once that happens, then you're going to see a whole slew of new viruses and new malware Trojans that are going to be targeting XP, because they know that nobody's going to be fixing it. So at that point, if you still have an XP device, it's time to move on.
Okay.
It's time to upgrade to Windows 7 or Windows 8 or whatever you want to, but you need something that's supported.
Are you able to go directly from, say, Windows XP to 7, or how do you have to do that?
Well, what you do is you back up. You can do it in two steps. Unfortunately, you have to reinstall all your applications, but any of the data and any of your settings and any of your personal stuff does get migrated over. You basically have to back it up into an external flash drive of some sort or an external device, then install the operating system and restore all your settings and data, and then reinstall the application. The only direct upgrade path to Windows 7 or 8 is from Vista.
You could go from XP to Vista and then from Vista to 7.
Yeah, but for most people, I think that, if you're going to go to 7, you probably want to have a clean start and just restore all your data, your pictures, your files that you saved, but just get all new apps.
Makes perfect sense. Hey, last thing before we go here. Just another thing here, how technology changes everything. Saturday, we had the crash landing of the Asiana jet at San Francisco International Airport.
Yeah, terrible thing.
Before it hit the news wires, I had a telephone call from a friend of mine on his cell phone atop a construction crane. He's a heavy equipment operator. He's working on a job site adjacent to SFO. And he's, I don't know, maybe 100 feet up in the air, something like that. Mm-hmm. He's videotaping the thing with his iPhone and taking pictures. And he sent me pictures of the whole scene before anything hit the news wires, AP, UPI, the rest of them. It was incredible. And I read where people on the other airplanes at SFO were using their mobile devices to find out what was going on, and they were getting the information before it was on official channels.
Yeah, we were out at Donner Lake up in Tahoe this weekend, and when I heard about it from somebody else, I immediately picked up my phone and went to Twitter and started looking at, what was trending, and sure enough, you started to see the Twitter community tweeting about the crash. There was a particular tweet that I retweeted from somebody who was actually on the plane saying, "Oh my God, we just crash landed. It looks like everything's okay." But so just imagine, the world has changed so dramatically that information now, we demand it instantaneously. It used to be you just had to wait till the next day or the evening news to find out what was going on. Now we have all these avenues for getting information, information overload in certain cases, but that's what we want.
We demand it instantaneously, and we get it.
Exactly.
Louis, I appreciate you joining us on the program this morning. Always great talking with you about technology. And for our listeners that are interested in more information on these issues, be sure to contact Louis Alvarez at the Alvarez Technology Group or any member of the I-Team there by going to alvareztg.com, or Louis, if they want to contact the I-Team, what's the toll-free number?
Give us a call at 866-78-I-Team. That's 866-784-8326.
Louis, thanks so much for being with us, and have a great weekend.
You too, my friend.